All right, Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the January 5th, 2022 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The meeting now starts. It is 7? Okay, it is 7 o'clock, and my eyes just aren't good enough, so it is 7 o'clock. I would like to start this meeting out with a pledge of allegiance, so if we would all stand and pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you. Next, some quick housekeeping for the people in the audience. First of all, welcome. I'm glad you're here with us today. Exits are obviously right here on our side. Emergency exits to get out of the building straight across the atrium here, and also along both sides of the boardroom here. If there's any need, let us know. We can help you out. So I would like to first start out by asking for a motion to deal with our minutes from December.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 1st, 2021.
I'll second.
Oh, I'm going to give it to John. John Miglerini seconds it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No one's opposed. And anyone who abstains?
I abstain.
Abstain. So we have Aaron abstaining. The meeting minutes resolution passes. Thank you very much. So little notes here today. First of all, I'd like to welcome to the first board meeting, Aaron. Congratulations, glad you're on board, and we look forward to having you for the next 6 or 7 years. It'll be wonderful.
Thank you.
Christian, welcome back. We're glad you're here. Eric, I'm glad to have you back as well, and thank you for my re-election to the chair position. Secondly, I would like to start with a roll call. I almost forgot. Robert Peckham present. Beth Mossworth, she's not present. John Miglerini here. Christian Chamberlain
Here.
Heather Robinson,
Here.
Timothy Harrington,
Present.
Aaron Lehman,
Present.
and we're good. Thank you. I covered all the basics, right?
I think so.
Okay. Now I would like to go to application 2021-113 by Benjamin and Nicole Gifford at 157 Dickman Road. I assume they're online.
Yes, I do have Nicole online. Nicole, can you unmute yourself?
Right here.
Hello, there we are.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Benjamin Gifford. I live at 157 Dickman Road, Pittsford, New York, 14534.
And you guys are looking, sorry, you guys are looking for a 55.5 front setback for a front porch where 60 feet is required. Can you explain a little bit more about the necessity of having to replace the front porch and the variance you're asking?
Sure. The steps were built when the home was built. They were degraded cinder blocks. The top slab was actually moving around, so it was no longer really attached to the house, and it was kind of stooped forward. So it actually became kind of a hazard with grandparents and children going up and down icy, broken steps. So my goal was just to replace the front entry with something safe that looks identical to the rest of the neighbors.
Okay. And so you have, in the application, you guys put in, you know, what the deck, or the front porch is going to look like. It is already built, is that correct?
It
started, yeah.
It's
Started it?
almost-
Okay.
We got to do railings on the, or the steps, that's all.
Okay. And for the record, can you let us know what it's going to be made out of?
It's all pressure treated board from Lowe's. Friend of mine is a really good contractor and framer. So he basically had his engineer guy draw everything up, and
We've been doing it.
we kind of tacking off on his plans from there. So he's kind of helping me out.
Okay.
I have to say that there is a very adorable young lady
I
here behind them.
know.
And I don't know if you're trying to butter us up or anything. It might be working.
Trying to keep her out of things.
Yeah, she likes to dig around and plant.
What's that?
plant there.
daughter.
And their daughter, yes.
Yeah.
So, very cute. Thank you for bringing her on screen for us.
My only last question, I guess, is do you plan on finishing the pressure treated wood?
Yeah, the whole thing is pressure treat. I believe that is something you have to do on any kind of exterior structure. So I'm not much of a carpenter myself,
Okay.
but yeah, I
Like
believe
finishing, like
any-
painting, staining kind of thing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he said that you have to let it sit for a year and then paint and stain it.
It's like an oily film on it.
But yes, we do plan on doing that, or else it'll just rot out.
Okay.
Perfect. Do you have any other questions, Heather?
No, I do not.
Are there any other questions from the audience or virtual or in person? Nope.
I have nothing online, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Heather. With that, I would say we can probably close this application.
Yes.
And no pressure, but whenever you're ready, Heather.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021,
Yep.
it's 20, it is 21,
It
sorry.
was submitted last year.
Dash 113 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as other homes in the neighborhood have front porches similar to what the applicant is asking. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The variance the applicant is asking is for an adequate size. Front porch to allow a safe access to the house. The variance requested is not substantial as the relief is only 4.6 feet. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was not self-created as the existing steps were deteriorating. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second that.
Seconded by Christian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
folks.
Have a
Appreciate it
good
very much. Bye-bye now.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Next, we have application 2021-114, Mark Cassetta requesting a Parka trailer on an unpaved, non-connected driveway extension at 160 Sedgerly Park. Is this you? Please come up to the podium. State your name and address. You can take it. State your name and address for the record. And I say this just so we can all say, make sure you're always speaking into the microphone and speak loud and clear.
Okay, my name's Mark Cassetta, address is 160 Sedgerly Park.
Welcome.
So, Mr. Cassetta, Tim Harrington, we spoke. So can you tell us the story? So you've got a motorcycle inside of a 6x12 trailer. Why the need to park it out back?
The motorcycle doesn't get stored in there. The motorcycle's in the garage. I've had that trailer since 2007. So it was before I physically moved into the new home in 2011. So it's been back there. We use it for storage for certain items, pool stuff in the wintertime, because we don't have as much, space in the garage, or the one small shed that's on the property doesn't have enough room for it all. So it's basically used for storage. Might come out a handful of times here or there, but it's not commonly used every week or weekend. So, but I have had the motorcycle in there, just taking it on trips down to Daytona Beach. But outside of that, that's it. And that hasn't happened for a couple of years, obviously, because of our nice friend that we have with us. But realistically, it's been there for 9.5 years. It's been used for storage, and that's pretty much what I use it for.
And been there, do you mean at the house or do you mean out back by the shed?
It's been out back by the shed, actually, since we moved in.
Okay, and so to comply with code, do you have a sense of the distance from driveway to shed that you would have to pave or gravel?
I did not measure it, but if I had to take a decent guess, it's got to be probably about 70 feet, 60 to 70 feet.
Substantial.
And,
And then there's hills to work with on the pool because we had a pool put in. So there's hills coming off the
Which is
side and
beautiful,
off
by
the
the way.
back. Pardon me?
The pool looks beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
reaction from neighbors on this?
Yeah, basically, it's funny because I'm friends with all my neighbors, obviously, and most of the ones who got the letters, they kidded around saying that they were going to come here. But I'm like,
I'm here.
I'm like, I hope they don't. You got one?
Yes, I did.
Did you really?
Yeah.
And, but the ones that I know have it, I've never had an issue with them. I have talked to them directly. And again, it's been there for 9.5 years. So nobody had a problem or a complaint with it being there. And I have actually talked to the majority of my friends who got the letters, and they stated that obviously there was no issue with it on their point.
And so what alternatives do you have if not parked behind the house by the shed? Is where else could you store this potentially?
The closest place I could ever store it if I needed to is probably about an hour away, that I have some property down in Naples. Outside of that, there really isn't anything else. It's in the driveway right now as it was requested, and it's blocking my third car garage and access to that, and kind of is a big detour for our parking in the driveway too, just because of it's taken up the one spot. with-
How, is it still registered and licensed?
Well, it was, and I actually attempted to do that yesterday to re-register it. But because the registration ran out December 31st, it's over a year old. I have to go to the DMV and I have to do it in person. So I did attempt to do that, but I did go online and I couldn't, it wouldn't let me re-register it because it's over a year, just over a year. If I would have known that, I was going to do it the last week of December, but I figured that that wasn't going to get it into January anyways, then I would have had to re-register it a second time.
So, so the other concern that you have obviously is that you can't keep it in the driveway because it's not registered.
At this point, correct.
So how many cars do you have?
But, yeah.
3.
And I assume they all park in garage slots.
No, the garage has got toys in it, so they're all in the driveway. I have 4 cars, actually. I have 1 car in the third car garage, my old custom car, and then I have the 3 driver cars in the driveway.
So you got it's a full house.
We have a full house.
What is your proposal for where to put it? I'm talking going back to the trailer. So I think in your drawing, you showed, it doesn't, I see the picture of the house and where it is. And I see another picture with like a pink drawing that you said I guess if you're looking at the shed from the pool to the left.
To the left, correct.
And behind it, you can't do because that's on parkland?
That's correct as well. And the reason it's on that left side is because the access door is on the other side. So
To get in the side door.
Oh,
of the
correct.
Trailer.
Of the trailer,
Okay.
correct. So if it was on the other side, it wouldn't be able to be opened or stuff come in and out of it that way. That's why it was on that side.
Kevin, are there other complications here that we should be paying attention to?
Just like we mentioned earlier at workshop, there is for the code that was cited for a driveway extension, it is specific that a legal vehicle is parked within the driveway extension, and also that driveway extension cannot go beyond the entry side of an accessory building.
Beyond the entry side of an access. Okay, so
Meaning it couldn't be
the
on the
other
sides.
complications, it has to be, with that wording, it has to be on the front of the shed.
Basically, yes.
So we are asking, does that require a secondary application if we were to approve this one?
I would say yes. The other section of code that was cited is 20712, which is parking and storage of legal vehicles, which takes you back to section 240, which is driveways and driveway extension requirements. I kind of did it that way because now you can look at both sections of code, and if we can find a pathway that allows sections of code, and if we can allow this, then we can move forward tonight.
But are you concerned that we can't move forward tonight, even if we accepted it? Now, that's not a done deal yet, but are you concerned with that?
Yes.
I have another question or two also. So many times, we have applicants come in and ask to put the, something like this on the side of their garage, and have a little or something like this on the side of. Heather, we're getting substantial, repeat feedback here.
I'm on it, Bob. Sorry.
No worries, thank you. So usually they're doing something outside the house. Now I have a question because it's not something I paid that much attention to when I drove by and looked at it. And actually, I can actually see you from one of our windows. Is it a hill on the side of that?
It is a little bit of a hill. My whole house is, when they
Raised.
built my house, yeah, they actually had to put an extra foot of stone in to get the virgin soil. So my house, my sump pump has never turned on since day one, ever, unless I prime it, which I do a couple times a year just to get it going. So there's hills all over. On the one side of that driveway, if you're looking at my house to the right there on the third car garage.
Yeah.
There you have the hill. Then we also have a walkway that was done with the landscaper to kind of, so it
Yeah.
didn't like tear up the mud or grass on that. So my dog and I walk on that, it's to get around to the back.
Yeah.
And if we went outside of that, even we'd be infringing on the property line. And also the RG&E meter is, the meter is right there. So it's tough to block that as well.
How do you plan on getting the trailer back to where it is? How do you do that?
I use my mower, to be
I'm
honest with you.
sorry, I'm asking you the wrong question. I mean route. How do you drive it back there?
Well, I go up on the other side of the house. And then I just go down my yard. Yep.
Right.
And then I just pull it up that way. And when I pull it out on the side where the walkway is.
So you do a loop.
Yeah, I do a loop.
Can you still do the loop because you have this pool there?
Yep.
That doesn't cause a problem. And are you driving on your neighbor's yard?
Nope, never get on my neighbor's yard. Nope. It takes a little bit of a hill, coming on that hill at first. And then once you get around a corner, then it kind of levels out a little bit, but it works fine on that.
These are the things that we always pay attention to. And the reason we ask for that driveway usually is because we don't want neighborhoods to have rutted up yards, right? If you're doing this regularly versus once in a while, whatever that looks like, that is a concern that we have for the neighbor's value.
Absolutely. And I would never do that. If you've driven by my house, you know how everything is. I'm not like that. I used to take it out when I was cutting the grass down in Naples. And every once in a while, if we had the rains or if it was wet and I couldn't get it out from there with my mower, I didn't want to take a chance on it. So the grass got, I have somebody cutting that grass now. So I don't even bother doing that anymore. So if I have to take it out or put it back, I wouldn't do it if it was wet or if it was, if it had any type of trenching going on.
Okay. So we do, no matter what we do right now, we do still have an issue that we just were discussing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just wanted to bring up the section of code 207-12 is parking or storage of legal vehicles in residential districts restricted to driveways and driveway extension. It says basically what we talked about, it can be parked in the driveway extension. Driveway extensions are to be stoned.
Or more, or
Although
paved.
this section of code does at the end states, if anybody, you can come to the zoning board for relief. So I don't know if Eric wants to take a quick look at this and comment, because we did quote 207-12. If the board wishes to vote on basically grass parking is what we call it in code terms, but it's, parking the vehicle on the grass other than the driveway. I think we can get there tonight with that.
Without an additional.
With just this variance.
Okay. Okay, so that's good news, or potentially. Is anybody, I guess I should ask, are there any other questions from members of the audience? Heather, do you see any?
I have nothing online.
Okay, and no, I don't, are there any questions from people sitting? No. So, what do we feel? Should we proceed with this or do we want to table it for any reason? What do we feel? And just for sake, Aaron, of saying this, If we table it, it means that we haven't decided right now. We need to talk about it independently at the end. That's just a procedural thing if we want. Very quickly, without an official vote, you sort of leaning,
Still, I'm not sure.
Heather,
No.
Tim?
I'm not sure.
So one, two, I'm actually okay hearing some of what I heard. But we don't have so we may have to table this. I
Yeah.
think we have to. So tabling it means we're gonna wait till the end of the session today, where we are gonna discuss this a little more. Unfortunately, you have to either wait with us till the end here, but that's what we're gonna do because we're on the fence. We are missing one person today, so we need 4 people to vote yes. If we vote now, it looks like it's no. So I would like to wait to the end so that we give you another chance, but for us, we're going to discuss this. So I'd ask you to have a seat and we'll call you back up in a little bit. It'll probably be 45 minutes or so.
Okay.
Thank you. Next we have. I'm going to table that for later. Next week. There it goes again. I'm going to table that. Thank you. I'm going to say it again.
Future Rob.
So next we have 2021-115 and 123 for namaste cash and carry at 3675 West Henrietta Road. Christian, I'm going to have you take this one.
Okay. Are they on, Heather? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're looking for, I don't have
Yes,
any.
it's gonna be Jim Colombo.
Thank
Hi, Jim, you can unmute now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. Please state your name and
Jim
address.
Colombo, Skylight Signs, 60 Industrial Park Circle.
Welcome. Please state your name and address.
Or we have a really bad.
Jim Colombo, Skylight Signs, 60 Industrial Park Circle, Rochester, New York.
Or we have a really bad. Hello, we're having a little bit of a feedback issue with our audio.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, sir?
He's frozen.
Yeah.
I think
Jim?
you're frozen. With our
It's really slow.
Jim,
Yeah,
Did they change them? Others said you-
I can hear you.
So
I,
I'm going to have you hold on a
yeah,
second.
you've been cutting out on my
Heather, is there?
screen.
Heather, is there anything that you're seeing that is causing feedback for us? Is there any tools that
Can you
you?
hear me now?
there's no feedback on my side. It sounds like, Jim, do you have this
Hold on, Heather,
screen?
Heather, is there anything that you're that
No,
feedback for
there's
us?
no
Is there any
feedback on my
tools that you
side.
have?
It sounds like, do you have this screen?
Do I have what?
Do you
You're
have
still
this?
cutting out. I should give you my phone number, Heather, and call it on there.
I can't call you, Jim, but you can call in from your phone.
No, I've
I
got,
can't call you, Jim, but you can call in from your phone.
what number?
And
I will send it to you in a chat. One
Can't hear
second.
you. You're cutting.
I'll send to you in a chat. One second.
Thank you.
Heather, I wonder if you could mute when we're done because it actually sounds like it when you're on.
I am. I
Heather,
only
wonder if you could mute when
talk.
we're done because it actually sounds like it when you're on.
I am. I only mute to talk.
It's a little weird because we will say something, Heather. After you've replied to it, we hear the whole thing again. It's a little weird because say something after you've replied to, we hear the whole thing again.
Should I continue to talk?
No, hold just a moment, please. I'm sorry about the.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you, sir, but it's.
No, hold just a moment. I'm sorry.
Just
We
hold.
hear you, sir, but
Am I too loud? Is that possible? No.
just hold. Am I too loud?
We can try that.
I don't know if it's an option, just to keep moving.
I'll give it a second because he's.
We can try that.
I don't know if it's an option, just to keep moving.
I'll give it a second because he's.
Jim, I just sent you a phone number. If you can log out of Zoom on your computer like this and just call in through. Jim, I just sent you the phone number. If you can log out of Zoom on your computer like this and just call in through the.
It's a feedback kind of, yeah.
I think it's. I think it's Heather.
No.
I think it's Heather's mission because he's.
Okay.
Back on. I'm gonna put my mic over here. No way.
Bob, while we wait for Jim to try calling back in, do you want to move on to the next application?
Cool. We were just having that bad loop, so it was sort of hard to move that forward. So the next one is the wall signs for the Jarvie Associates. Is he the same guy doing this? Yeah. So that deals with the next one. So I guess we'll go to 2021-117.
No. Jarvie Associates is a different person.
Yes,
That's Ralph. I have Ralph right here, Bob.
Wonderful. Please state your name and address for the record. We're going to do 2021-116 Jarvie Associates at 12
yes,
Jefferson Road.
yes, thank you. My name is Ralph Baranis. I'm with Skylight Signs at 60 Industrial Park Circle, Rochester, New York.
Welcome.
Thank you. I guess I'll start. So obviously a new tenant had moved into this building, Henrietta Pediatrics. And this building currently has a side entrance with a canopy over it. And it's the entrance to Henrietta Pediatrics. I don't believe there's an entrance through the building, so you have to enter from the side. And what we're trying to do is just, make sure that clients and patients, understand that as they're driving around the building, that they really shouldn't be going into the building itself from the main front door, excuse me, but to in fact come in through the entrance under that canopy. We understand that this is a sixth sign that we're requesting. But we think that because it's a smaller side of signs as far as when you compare it to the front, and they're non-illuminated, and they're really just there to help the patients. I'm not even sure if you can really see these from Jefferson Road, maybe if you turn your head the right way. So that's what we're looking for. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Ralph, is that going to be illuminated or anything?
No.
Non-illuminated, they're just plastic letters.
So there's not going to be any lights off the side or anything?
No.
Okay.
Ralph, do you know if the entire building is leased out?
Okay, well, the owner was going to join me on this meeting, but he couldn't make it. And I don't think it's 100% leased out.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Members of the audience?
Sorry,
I'm
I
sorry.
did have one question. So,
Sure.
let's see here. You have the size of it being 1 foot by 17.1. Okay.
17.7.
Okay.
Yeah.
No further questions. Sorry. I was just looking at it.
Yeah, sure. And that drawing is scaled, so that's the size of the canopy as well. That the tan area, that's scaled. I just didn't size it on there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any questions from audience? Any questions from board members that haven't been asked? No? I do think we're going to put one limitation on this, and that is that we're going to approve this sixth sign, but it will only be approved for a sixth sign on the awning. So that would give the applicant what they're asking for, but wouldn't give them the ability to move it somewhere else on the building if this Henrietta Pediatrics moves in the future. You could put someone else's sign on that, but it has to be right there.
Understood.
I believe that's the only stipulation we'll put on there. If the board is okay with that, I feel like that's good. Okay. So when John, we will close the application. And John, when you're ready, I know it'll take a minute. We will proceed.
Fast internet. Are you on mute?
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application 2021-116 for an area variance, I move to approve. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all the relevant information and has considered the potential benefits to the applicant versus the potential detriments to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. Entrance is on the side of the building and the tenant needs signage for that entrance. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulties related to the variance, was self-created. Again, the applicant needs visibility so their tenants know where to go. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented. And be it further resolved that the approval shall be subject to the following conditions. Sign will, with the stipulation that the sign will only be mounted on the awning overhang.
I'll second.
Seconded by Heather. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. The application is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go to application 2021-117, which is Margaret Palmieri, which I know you're here in person. Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, loud and clear so we can.
May I take the mask? Thank you.
And Bob, just to let you know, I do have Jim Colombo back on, ready to try it a second time when you're ready.
Yep, we'll do it after this application.
Hi, everyone. My name is Margaret Palmieri, 133 York Bay Trail, West Henrietta.
Welcome.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you again.
Nice to see you again, too.
So when we met and we were talking, you have a house that the property backs up to the river. And there's some lines there in your map that show that there's spaces that it's not okay to put this. But we did talk about that in person and it's a very reasonable spot to put it. Could you tell us what you are trying to do with this shed in a little more detail so the board has an understanding?
Sure. So I have a property that's, as Bob said, backs up to the Genesee River, and part of it is in a floodway, which obviously we can't put anything there. Much of it beyond that is in a flood zone. So we are trying to get some other means of storage space. My husband has a show car. I have a car that I like to drive just in the summer also. And then we have our two vehicles that we use every day. Recently, I purchased a trailer for landscaping purposes so that I can bring in dirt and that. We're trying to do some positive work on the bank near the river. So, you know, we're trying to plant for erosion and things like that. So I do have to have some kind of a trailer. So that's in the garage right now. One of our drivers is in the garage. It's a 2-car garage. So once in a while, I may want to keep all these extra things in there. And I also have a storage unit, which I would like to get rid of, that has things in there. So I'm trying to save myself a little bit of money, and also have some more storage area on the property. We have no sheds right now, so.
Very good.
So what do you plan on storing exactly in the shed?
So it would be the landscaping trailer.
Okay.
probably our rider lawnmower, which is now on the bank of the river, covered up with a tarp, which I'm sure the neighbors aren't exactly thrilled about either. I shouldn't say I don't really know. No one says anything in our neighborhood about those things, but I wouldn't like it if I was looking at someone's lawnmower and a big blue tarp. Once in a while, I would like to be able to drive my convertible and put it in there. Not take it in and out, but more or less in the winter, like now when I'm paying for it to store it somewhere. So.
Okay. So is this size going to be what you need for all your storage purposes?
It should be. The gentleman that is actually going to build the shed, it's Race Storage Sheds in Buffalo. And it was his suggestion on that size because of the things I told him I needed it for. And he said, you might, if you ever do want to put a car in there for any reason, even if it's just for a month or two, he said, you're not going to be able to open your doors or do anything. I was asking for him to build me a 10 by 20 regular. That's about as small as you can use for a car, or even the trailer it's a fair size trailer. So he said, why don't you try for 14 feet wide? I think that you're going to really need that. And I said, well, I'll see what I can do. He's given me a lot of guidance through this process. He builds a really decent product. So I'm looking forward to working with him some more and trying to, do something that's nice.
Okay.
Will it look like the house?
The siding will be the same color as the house. It'll have, I guess, a window probably on the side facing the house that they put shutters up. They put a flower box on it. They give you a choice of an asphalt versus a metal roof. I'm asking them if they would let me have a garage door on there. No electric, just to pull up and down.
Yep.
If I needed to put the car in there at some point. And that's about it. The car is always registered. I never change, the registration on it over the winter.
You just said there wasn't going to be any electric garage door opener, but is there any electric going to be run to the shed at all? Or
No plans for
no
that.
plans for
No.
that? Okay. Is this going to be dirt floor, or is it going to be?
No, it has to
slab?
be a concrete floor for the size.
Okay.
And that is actually going to be put in by a neighbor of mine. I guess this fellow from, I think his name is Ben from Race Storage Sheds. He, normally, if it wasn't here, and if I lived closer to Buffalo, they would come and they would bring their own contractors to put in the concrete, but because of the distance and there's an extra fee and everything, and they won't even put the concrete down. So I have a neighbor, I don't know if Colin Moriarty, Site One Construction, down on Shore Drive, that said he would like to install the floor for me so that it's in line with what Race Storage Shed is asking for.
Okay.
Kevin, does that cause any issues with cars?
Kevin, microphone, please.
I was making sure I wasn't the feedback issue. That's why I had it off. I apologize. Yeah, so I was gonna make that comment about the concrete floor is a requirement for any motor vehicle parking within a building.
Okay, and it's still considered a shed?
Yeah, there's nothing in our code that restricts
Use.
the use of that, what's parked in there,
Perfect.
or what is stored in there.
Okay, so with that, I don't know if there's any more questions, are there?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
So for the shed, how high is it going to be?
Now I'm going to have to refer to some paperwork here, and I believe it was submitted to you, and I think it is 8.5 feet for that size in order to support because it's a larger footprint.
Right.
It's necessary for them to build it just that much higher.
No, that's the inside height of the.
The
like,
wall.
the wall height, what, not the peak height.
Okay, so you need to know the peak height.
It's probably a normal pitch roof. It's not something.
It is.
It's not something strange as in super high or.
No, it's just,
One or two stories.
just one story.
One story.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to ask, in a previous discussion, there was talk of the concern of traffic across unpaved or gravelled yard and the effect of that. How would you estimate the quantity of times that you'll be passing the trailer or the cars from the back of the house?
Half a dozen maybe in a season.
Half a dozen per season. Okay.
Normally in the summer, I drive the convertible and I keep it parked in the garage. So in the winter, I just put it in and leave it there. Yeah, in the storage unit that I have now, that's what I've been doing.
Now, you have like a little X where it's gonna be, is that where it's gonna be on the property still? Okay,
That should be it. Yep.
okay.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from members of the audience, either in person or on the Zoom?
I have nothing online.
Thank you. With that, I think we can probably close this application. And that would be me. Moment. Zoom. So with regards to application number 2021-117 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus a potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. This property does back up to the river, and this request should not have a negative change in the neighborhood. The variance can be achieved by some other feasible alternatives. In some terms, it could be smaller shed, but this is the desired result from the applicant, and it does fit the request. The variance request is substantial, and it's relatively large shed for this property, but again, it does fit in with the surroundings. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. Its location is not expected to be negative to the environment at all. And the difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a nice
Good
day.
evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I'm going to go back to applications 2021-115 and 123. Namaste.
Hi, Jim Colombo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I can hear you.
Wait,
Hopefully-
please state your address also for the record.
60 Industrial Park Circle, Rochester, New York, 14624.
Thank you.
Here representing Amnesty Market.
Hello, sir. Basically, they want to turn their sign into a plaza sign, essentially, having like 3-4 different signs underneath. Is that just adding to the existing sign? or is it
Correct.
keeping that?
Adding just the 6mm aluminum composite panel with simple vinyl copy, non-illuminated to the 410 that'll be there. There will not be any more than that. That's as large as it can go as far as 10. That's our.
Okay.
And
So basically, the diagram was presented to us is actually, there's a discrepancy with it where it shows.
plenty of clearance underneath. I know you're requesting 9, but we have 7, and I don't think it's a.
Right, yeah. Basically,
Unfortunately,
well, you're breaking up a little bit. Okay, basically from the bottom of the proposed sign to the ground will be 7 feet. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, because the diagram we have in front of us is different, but we understand that there's what it really is supposed to be. You said it wasn't going to be lit. Is this going to be the number they're always going to need, just 4? They're not going to need any additional in the future?
4 tenants, correct, and they can be removed if one comes in and one moves out type of thing, no problem.
Okay, but 4 tenants is the maximum they can ever have. Okay,
Yes.
all right. I don't have any other questions regarding this.
So right now you have, so the plaza sign were so 7 feet, you have the 4, additional signage there. Have you looked at possibly making that smaller? So that way you can get like an 8-foot clearance versus the 7?
You know,
I don't know if you can.
No, that's the best I could do, because the 4 foot, I'm only getting 12-inch panels out of that, and with a 4-inch copy, you won't see much more higher than that on those. And if we squeeze it even more, then that might eliminate it to 3, which he has 4.
Heather, do you have the ability to share that picture that I sent to you on our screen? Thank you. So for the rest of the panel, so what I do is, in part of my fact finding, is trying to understand the perspective of a driver who would be affected by the proposed change. And so this is a picture I took exiting the location to understand the relationship of the sign to the road. And I think Christian's point was, it looks like there's bars that represent about where these new signs would go. So it helps me get a sense of.
We're about halfway up. There's these
Plates or
footers or something. Looks like there's.
Correct. Those plates in the middle of the pole, it'll be a foot above that. So.
Oh, a foot above it.
a foot
Okay.
above that.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah.
it would be at least, as long as it's not that about 7 feet
okay
from
with
the bottom to where those.
Can you zoom that a little bit, Heather? Is that possible?
Because you see how the land slants. So
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
The other thing I think is important is the drawing is not this, the measurement.
no, definitely not. I'm sorry about that. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's helpful. So you say it's going to be approximately 1 foot above those plates or whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm looking at this.
I don't.
I've got 5 feet from the plate to the top of the sign.
Okay.
Can
And
you
there's
hear
gonna be
me?
no space between these 4 signs and the namaste sign. It's going to butt up to it. It's a question.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I'm comfortable
Yeah,
with
so
that.
there's definitely no sightline issues as far as I could see when I
That's
looked myself.
correct.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from the board? Are there any questions from members of the audience?
I apologize. You guys keep cutting out on me.
That's okay. Right now, we're doing some procedural things, so hold tight.
I have nothing online.
Got it.
From the board members, do we have, how many people are a no? Are you okay? Are you no? Or you okay? You're good? Okay, so we're gonna proceed. Christian, and there was something for the plaza signs too. There's 2 things, plaza signs and the height that we were talking about.
Right. Should I do them separately or do them together?
No, I'm just making sure that I'm covering both bases when I ask the question.
Right, because that's the second variance was it says we have to approve to change from a pole sign that is to a plaza sign.
Yes,
So
but this is
Right. That I'm adding market.
you're adding market to it. Okay, yeah.
Correct.
so you're no to both.
So I'm only no
Yes.
to 115.
Okay,
That's the height.
so that may mean that we have to do 2 because she's.
Sorry.
But we can, if you want, we can pause. I'll let you do that, and then we'll come back and actually do the reading of that to make.
Yeah, because I needed a second. Heather, could you put a second resolution in the on the OneDrive?
As a matter of fact, probably even copy that one.
I could copy and just say a different resolution if it doesn't make a difference.
Why don't you do that? So
Put a 2 behind it. Yeah, just rename it.
Let me grab what you've got in there, Chris, and I'll do a duplicate and I'll just name it the second application number, okay? Give me 30 seconds.
Okay.
So just give us 1 minute while we do that. It's just a little.
Make sure you're out of the file.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Hold on, Heather.
Thank you.
I may be in the file still. Give me 1 second.
But either way, it looks like these are going.
Okay, I'm out.
Tim, thank you for the extra picture. I think that helps.
Yeah.
Just a comment for, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name,
I'm sorry.
Jim, right?
No, no, it's all right.
I know.
Jim, just a comment for you for future information here. I do think it's better to have extra pictures in here when you're coming in front of us. The line drawings are great, but when you give us more information that shows this stuff a little better, it definitely makes it easier. And even when we're there in person, it's just more for the record. So I recommend that when you come back in front of us. I know we'll see you again sometime.
I looked at the site, well, I've been past it several times over the years, but when I drove, looked at it on Google Earth at first, you can't get a feeling for how large or small the sign is until you actually go to it. You're like, oh yeah, it's much bigger, because it looked smaller on Google Earth than in person. So it does make a difference to be there in person.
It did used to be Wonder Bread, much better, by the way. But the other thing is, I was there with Aaron when we were reviewing it.
Kristen, you should be all set. Both of them are in there now.
Okay, thank you.
That means you also might have to update by pulling the folder. Yep, I got it.
While we're waiting, I'll share a fact that I didn't know until recently. There's a restaurant inside of, well, it says grill, but I thought it was just groceries. There's a restaurant in the back and it's really good.
Oh,
Huh.
noted. I'll check that
There's a
out.
lot of nice improvements.
I still don't love the sight line, but then the mix.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
You're ready. Go ahead, Christian.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, with regards to application number 2021-115 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. There are many other signs of similar size and design along West Henrietta Road. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. In order to properly advertise each business within the plaza, the signage is required. The variance requested is not substantial. Providing a 2-foot relief is a reasonable request, so the existing pole sign can be utilized to advertise the businesses in the plaza. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. Adding signage to the existing pylons will not affect conditions on the property. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. The applicant wishes for the individual businesses within the plaza to have signage to indicate their location to customers. And be it further resolved that based upon the findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Heather's opposed. And with that, the motion carries. Now we will do the second one, which is 1, 2, 3, I think.
Give me 1 second here. I gotta.
No problem. We need that.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-123 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. There are other signs of similar size and design along West Henrietta Road. 2, the variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. In order to properly advertise each business within the plaza, the signage is required. The variance requested is not substantial. Providing a 2-foot relief is a reasonable request, so the existing pole sign can be utilized to advertise the businesses within the plaza. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. Adding signage to the existing pylons will not affect conditions on the property. And the difficulty relating to the variance was was self-created. The applicant wishes for the individual businesses within the plaza to have signage to indicate their location to customers. Be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. So thank you very much. Both motions carried.
Have a good night.
Good evening.
Both applications carried. I don't know what I'm talking about. Next.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Have a
evening.
good night.
Good night.
Have a good night, Jim.
Next application, 2021-118 by Matt Kenyon at
I
5.
hope you heard me.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Good night.
So 2021-118 by Matt Kenyon at 5 Alton Way.
Yep, this is Matt Kenyon, 5 Alton Way. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, we do. Thank you. Welcome today.
Thank you.
Sure. Heather?
Yep. So, Mr. Kenyon, you are looking to put a hot tub in the side yard of your corner lot, whereas it's required by code, it's allowed in the rear. Can you explain a little bit about the placement of the hot tub and where you got to that conclusion?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, 5 Alton Way is located on a corner lot. It's also at an angle. And so because it's a corner lot, it technically has 2 front yard spaces. And if you follow the angle of the house, which I think is what you're supposed to do for the rear yard, it really limits the amount of rear yard space. In addition to that, there's a drainage easement in the back of the yard, so we aren't able to put a privacy fence up back there. So there's a lack of privacy back there. And then because of the deck and the pool, and then again, the angle of the house and then trees that are already existing, the only places that are available that are still in the rear are pretty far away from the door, and they'd be kind of in the middle of the yard, which would just, for the neighbors that can still see in the back, would kind of be an eyesore and just would really disrupt the, any sort of flow of the yard that exists currently. So the side yard is where I want to put it. It is surrounded by arborvitaes that are about 6 feet tall, and then on the other side, the back side, there's a privacy fence from the deck. And then it's also an ideal location because there's a side door that you walk right out. It's right on the side, right next to it. I did discuss with our neighbors the plans, and they were very supportive. They even submitted a letter of support with the application. They didn't see any issues with it, and ideally, it actually is a location that provides a lot more privacy, for us and for the neighbors because of its situation, even though it is a side yard.
Okay. Now, right now, you did mention that you have existing trees there. Are you going to be adding any other vegetation to help with privacy?
Yeah, my plan is in the springtime to kind of continue to, just make it a nice area, with privacy and different elements to make it more comfortable. But that's the goal is privacy.
The pictures that you supplied showing the footing that you've already, or the pad that you've already put in place, is that from the doorway that you're referencing?
Yeah, so yeah, good question. So the picture is a little misleading because it's from the doorway, and so I'm actually standing up a good 3-4 feet above. So it actually makes the trees look shorter. I'm not a very tall person, but they're probably a good foot above me in height. They're about 6 to 7 feet right now. But yes, that's from the doorway.
How big is that pad?
It is, I want to say 8 feet by 8 feet. it's pretty much the exact same size as the hot tub, which I think is 84 inches.
Did you already run the electricity out to that, or is that going to be above ground, or?
No, so a little backstory on my lack of familiarity with the codes. I severely injured my ankles over the summer, and I found a weekend where I was able to actually get out there with soft dirt, and I didn't realize I needed a permit until I talked to the electrician. So that's why the pad is there is out of ignorance. But no, the electricity is not run yet. I was waiting for the permit once I realized I needed one. The electrical box is, however, right on that wall, so it's very convenient to run it to that location as well. That's the other concern with the rear yard is it's not shown in the drawing, obviously, but there's trees that are in front of the bay window in the rear yard, and so my concern would be running electricity running through those roots, causing damage to those trees as well. So there's a few reasons that got us to that location.
Out of curiosity, how long have those arborvitae been planted in that spot?
I want to say 2 or 3 years. It was a Costco special. It was like $35 for 4 or 5 footers. It was really good.
So the good news there, I would imagine, is that they're going to start growing faster and faster.
Yeah, they've already grown. I was actually looking at a picture from last year. And
slow.
Yeah, if you look at the patio picture, I think the patio is up a good 2 or 3 feet. So it kind of gives you an idea of how tall they are already. They're taller than I am by a good foot or so.
Okay. Are there any other questions from members of the audience or the board?
I have no one online anymore.
Thank you, Heather. I think with that, we can close this application.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-118 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties due to the property being a corner lot. The proposed location for the hot tub will be hidden by existing trees. The variance can be achieved by some other feasible alternative. However, the current variance requested is the best alternative due to the nature of having a corner lot and has drainage issues at the rear of the yard. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical and environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created as the applicant prefers the location to be in the side yard rather than the backyard, which, with it being a corner lot and the drainage issues, this is the only feasible location to have the most privacy. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Seconded by Christian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Enjoy.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good day, man.
Have a good night.
Application 2021-119 Amish exclusive. It's your lucky time. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record. Speak loud and clear so we can hear
Good
you.
evening. I'm Wendy Mahar with Mahar Engineering at 2024 West Henrietta Road.
Thank you. Welcome. Mr. Harrington?
Yes, so we spoke. So how about, and I shared our discussion with the group. Let's ask this. The company was here back in 2018. Can you tell us what's changed since then? Because, right, so what's different about this application since then?
The only thing that's different are the materials that the addition is being constructed of. It was masonry and steel framing. We've gone to wood framing just because of construction costs. And when we got the variance approved, they weren't able to make the addition. So we are just back now requesting the same variance.
And, okay, thank you. And you don't own this company, but do you have a sense of how long they've been there and what has been their experience to date with their current parking spots?
Yeah, Mr. Harrington, when I talked to you earlier today, they own 2 stores, one in Webster and one on West Henrietta Road. The one in Webster, they've been there for 10 plus years. The one in Henrietta, they've been there at 5+ years.
And so they have 7 spots currently, because the question here more than anything is the parking spots. So have they expressed the history of how it's been with 7 spots in this location?
They really don't have a problem with that few spots. A lot of the clients purchase things online, or they come in and they're custom orders. So they send them to the Webster store, which is the larger store, and they have a lot more stock. So they really haven't had a problem until now. They want to put the addition on to just add more storage, warehouse area.
More storage, and, okay, good. And so then the current back location where they're wanting to expand, there's a trailer with their name on it and some other things. Do we know what will happen of all that in the backyard?
They are going to just abandon those or put those as refuse. They're not keeping it. They're just simply storing them right now because they have the room for it. When they put the addition on, they're going to take it to the dump.
Will the fence also go? Is the
Yes.
fence theirs? The fence is theirs.
It is. Yep.
All the way around at the fences, there's all sides.
Yeah.
My screen. So I'd like to ask more questions about parking. So obviously the issue, we're not talking about the building specifically, how that's going to be laid out or anything, but we are talking about parking. And it looks like you're looking for only 7 spots total.
Correct. We've got a total of 11. Let's see. 11, there's a 14. We've got 21 total with the banked parking is what we're proposing.
And where is the banked again? Where are you?
It's all, there's 11 in the back, and then there's 3 that run parallel with the building in the front.
Yep.
So you have to
And
zoom
7
quite a bit on the
existing.
graphic, but it does say banked in the very rear. It's
Okay.
pretty,
Very back.
pretty
They're kind
small
of hard to
type
see.
though.
Everything's going slow right now.
Yep.
And not that it's for us in front of this, it's not being asked right now, but are they also redoing some of the front of that building?
There is a current inset entrance. They are merely just putting storefront to enclose it to help with, heat and heat loss when people enter the building. Just a vestibule.
So one of the things that was a concern for me, when we look at the back of that building today, even though it's, at least from face value, is a little bit overgrown and stuff back there. And I don't know if that's actually what it is, but that's what it looked like from the outside of it. There is space for them to do things like put a truck. There's one in there, or trailer, I don't know what it is. But they're putting furniture in there. So where are they going to do that? Where are they going to move furniture into that? From the backyard? Or that's what I'm calling it, the back parking?
Yeah, there's a double door that's proposed in the rear. Is that what you're asking?
It
For
is, but I'm
entering?
also concerned about the trucks. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to use trucks to move furniture, space to turn things around. These are all things that I was thinking about when I was looking at it, that I don't feel there's a lot of space there to deal with any movement. And so I am concerned about that. I may be the only one, I'm not sure, but that's something to me that, like, that's what's putting me on the fence, so to speak, of this decision. So what are the expectations for trucks, things of that nature? Your next door neighbor there, they don't have to, the one that would be, as you're looking at the building to the right, which I guess is north. I'm not quite sure.
I think that's right.
And so the building to the north, which is like a multi-unit building, are they going to have to expect that your customers' vehicles are going to be on their property to maneuver?
No, so they, like I said, the main store is in Webster, and that's where they normally keep the truck. And they do have an adjoining parking lot, so there's plenty of room for a truck to pull up adjacent to their building, unload furniture and turn around to be able to maneuver out of the parking area.
And the door that's drawn into this drawing is big enough for those activities?
Yeah, it's just a double door, 6-foot door, and the moving, it's not going to be a semi. It's typically, it's just like a moving truck.
Like a box
That-
truck
that-
or something.
Yeah.
Oh, the double door there. I'm sorry.
And a lot of times a lot of the furniture within the store are just floor models. So people come in, they get, majority of their furniture is custom orders. So they just look at existing stains and colors and they pick the furniture out. The furniture is delivered directly to the homeowner. So there's not a lot of, I guess, moving furniture in and out of the store. It's more display models, if you will.
Okay. I'm good. Are there questions or concerns? Aaron, do you have any?
Sorry. You know, my only concern is if the back is land banked, you know, in perpetuity, if the current owner does decide to sell this property, I'm not sure that that property looks attractive for another tenant, because without that back parking, there's really no place for me to park a delivery truck of any size. So for me right now, I think it's a no. And I think that, however, if the quote unquote banked parking becomes part of the build now, I think that would change my mind.
So you'd want to see it built out?
Yeah.
I have no other questions.
Heather? Okay.
No.
Oh, you're a no.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. With that, and Tim, this is you doing this, right?
Yep.
With that, I'm sorry, any questions from members of the audience? There's nobody online still, right, Heather?
Correct.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to close this application. Tim, it's all you.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-119 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has, 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. With the same footprint of the plans already approved by zoning board in 2018, this change will only add a rear-facing addition while removing a fence and cleaning up the rear of the property. 2, the variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The company existed there for many years with only 7 parking spots. This change increases it to 13 spots, 7 constructed, 14 banked, with no increase in traffic. The parcel does not have room for more parking spaces. The variance requested is substantial, but this change was approved in 2018. And although this addition does not achieve the 37 total parking spots, it does increase the existing parking spot potential by nearly 100%. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The changes will not be visible from the front of the facility, and the rear will be reorganized with materials and possessions now indoors storage. 5, the difficulty relating to the variance was not self-created. The parcel and building do not allow for more parking spaces. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Second.
Yes,
second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second.
I'll second that. Or
Christian seconds it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
So that's Heather and Aaron as opposed. The motion carries. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a nice day.
Thank you.
And then we go back to. Just for sake of saying, Aaron, the reason I sort of moved forward because the numbers.
Yeah.
That's what I was- But you should have voted as you did. It's appropriate for you. Next, we have three applications, 2021, 120, 121, and 122 for Erie Station 241 LLC Cooper Vision on 180 Thruway Park Drive. Heather, is there anyone on the line for this?
She said no. Oh.
Yes.
Yes, my name is Michael Trojan. I'm a representative for Erie Station 241, and I also have my consultant, Peter Voss. Bars.
Yes, good evening. My name is Peter Vars from BME Associates, offices at 10 Lithbridge Lane East in Fairport, New York. If the board would allow, we'll just briefly go through all three variance requests, just give you the background on the request, and then myself or Michael can entertain any questions that you may have.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, so yes, we are here to request three area variances that are associated with the proposed construction of an expansion to the existing Cooper Vision facility that's located at 180 Thruway Park Drive. Cooper Vision is proposing a 152,950 square foot addition to their current 242,550 square foot building. Cooper Vision currently occupies a 15.5 acre lot within the Thruway Park Industrial Park. They are acquiring the adjacent 5.9 acre lot for this expansion. That will be consolidated into a single tax parcel, a single lot. So Cooper Vision will occupy a 21.4 acre lot. And that consolidation subdivision is currently under administrative review by the town of Henrietta. The property, as is the entire park, is zoned industrial, and the proposed use is a permitted use in that district. The project has been reviewed for site plan review with the planning board back at their December 14th meeting. They did grant site plan approval, but it was contingent upon completing the zoning board process and the request for these variances. The three variances that are requested are for the number of driveways onto the street. We are requesting a third driveway where the code allows no more than 2 driveways. A reduction in the required parking. The code, based on the proposed use upon completion of the expansion, requires 1,029 parking spaces. We are requesting a variance to allow 786 spaces, which are a combination of 565 constructed spaces plus 221 land bank spaces. And the third area variance is for a rear relief to the rear setback. Because of loading being located along the north side of the building, the code requires a 60-foot setback for a rear setback, and we are requesting a setback of 59.5 feet. I'll briefly go through the reasoning behind the three variances. As it relates to the access variance, the third driveway is being proposed and is requested so that we can separate the truck traffic that would from the employee and visitor traffic. The employee and visitor traffic would continue to use the 2 existing curb cuts that are on Thruway Park Drive. The main entrance, employee visitor entrance for the Cooper Vision building is at its eastern end at the southeast corner. The proposed expansion is going to move the loading facilities to the western end of the building, the new expansion. So it allows us to separate that traffic. With regards to the request for the variance, we think it's practical in the fact that they are expanding this project into the adjoining lots. So there was always an anticipation that there would be additional curb cuts onto Thruway Park Drive as that lot was developed. The 3 proposed driveways would actually be over a length of 1,800 lineal feet along Thruway Park Drive. That's the frontage the combined lot would have. And for a point of reference, the south side of that 1,800 lineal feet currently has 4 curb cuts, one being including Hendricks Road and Becker Road. With regards to the request for the parking variance, the amount of parking being provided is based completely on the practical need of CooperVision. They have been in their existing facility for over 10 years. They understand completely what their need is. They currently have parking for 361 vehicles. With this expansion, we'll be adding an additional 204 constructed spaces, which will give us 565 spaces. But we also have the ability, and have shown on a land bank parking plan, that they could add an additional 221 spaces. That's what gets us to that 786. But I think what's more important is understanding their need. Is currently CooperVision operates and will continue to operate 3 shifts a day. They currently employ approximately 600 individuals that are dispersed over those 3 shifts. With the proposed expansion, they'll be adding approximately 80 to 90 additional positions, additional people, again, distributed over 3 shifts. So the proposed expansion of the parking on the site is more than adequate to address not only the current employee count, but the proposed employee count. The other thing to point out is the code itself and the required parking for warehouse space. We've had discussions with the town about this over the last year or so, and the fact that it is somewhat dated. The 1 space per 400 square feet is based on 1990s warehouse operations. The fact of the matter is warehouse operations today are highly automated, and the CooperVision facility is highly automated. 10, 20, 30 years ago, where you would have seen people driving forklifts around and moving product around that way, that's all automated through crane and robotic systems. So the fact is while you have all of this space, it's how you move that product around is automated and not employee driven. So the demand for the parking is not as high as it traditionally has been. The other component, as it relates to the employee count and the parking demand, is this expansion is not necessarily going to increase traffic in and out of the facility as it relates to delivery and loading of materials. The fact of this expansion, what it really does is what basically every lens that CooperVision makes is going to go through this facility, whether it's made in Scottsville Road or other locations throughout the country. This is going to be their main distribution center. They are just expanding their product mix. In other words, the buyer has a larger palette of choices to make. And so they just have to increase this additional space in order to have that product on hand to distribute. So at the end of the day, we feel very comfortable and confident in the parking that we're proposing and requesting the variance for, because we have the benefit of operational experience of CooperVision in this facility and what their actual demand needs to be. The last variance relates to the rear setback. We're requesting a relief of 6 inches, and that's really a function of, as we expand this building west, we obviously are expanding it to match the existing north wall of the current building, and just going to keep that plane of that building moving west. The throughway right-of-way starts bending to the south because of the curve. And so that's where we kind of have the constriction. And that's why there's the need for that very northwestern corner of the building. It encroaches into the setback could be by up to 6 inches. And therefore, we're requesting the relief. What's important to point out about that request is the rear setback in the zone is 30 feet. Unless you have loading operations in the rear of the building, where then it requires the 60 feet. Ironically, the loading operations that will be on that north side of the building are actually set back. The loading docks are 120 feet because they're recessed in. So we believe the request for that variance is not substantial and is not detrimental to any of the surroundings. Our letter of application we submitted provided written responses to the 5 factors that you need to consider as part of this request. We provided responses for each of the variance requests. We can discuss any of those as you wish this evening, but we believe that those responses along with the application shows that the benefit being sought by the applicant for these 3 variance requests is not going to be to the detriment of the neighborhood, or that the character of the area would not be adversely affected. So with that, myself or Michael Trojan can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Peter. Board, if it's okay, I'd like to supplement what Peter said about the parking. Again, my name is Michael Trojan. I'm a representative for Erie Station 241. We are the owners of the building. And when it comes to parking, we're always concerned about the reuse of a building and when a tenant moves out. And so it's something that we internally have had a great deal of consideration on. And as Peter said, we feel that the parking requirements in the future are only going to decrease because of the automation issues. And so as an owner, we're very comfortable with asking for this variance, and the tenant as well knows their growth and their employment projections as well, and they're comfortable as well. Thank you very much, board, for hearing our statements.
Thank you. First thing, Peter, I don't think you took a breath during that presentation. That's pretty impressive.
Counted 3, Peter.
3 breaths. Michael, I have a question for you, Michael. How long is the existing lease that they have? Is this something that they are going to be there a long time?
They have 7 years on the existing lease, if I'm remembering correctly. And with the new facility, we are still in discussions, full disclosure on what the new lease term will be, and the ownership quantity. But it is CooperVision's decision, after looking throughout the nation, throughout North America, and having been persuaded by Rochester to move to there was a lot of economic incentives for them to move out. They have decided that this is a long-term play that CooperVision National is willing to make, and they are committed to Henrietta for the long term. This is the only distribution for any CooperVision contact lens that is distributed in North America comes through this facility. It's kind of a side funny story is I wear CooperVision contact lenses, and I ordered from a third party. They were distributed from West Henrietta to Oregon and then back to me here in Pittsford, New York. So it was quite a distribution system. I could have walked down and picked it up, but that's that they're here for the long term, and they're not going anywhere with this investment. They'll be here for the long time.
Well, it's good to hear that, and it's always nice to see a business flourishing and picking our neighborhoods for their space. Great. Are there any? There was a lot of information there, so we appreciate that, Peter and Michael as well. Are there any questions from the board members, or did this presentation offer the answers that you needed?
I would like to ask a question. First, a comment, very thorough, the 2 of you. Thank you. How much vegetation or specifically trees will be removed for this addition, and what are your thoughts on replacing them back to the earth somewhere?
Okay, let me just find my notes from the planning board meeting, because we did cover that with them. Okay, here we go. So there will be approximately 4.5 acres of vegetation removed from the site as a result of this expansion. The planning board, in conjunction with review conducted by the conservation board, did approve, a landscaping plan that includes planting an additional 32 trees. We're going to continue the street tree, that's what we call it, planting plan along the frontage. If you're familiar with the existing CooperVision building, there's a small 2 to 3 foot berm, and there's trees about every 25 feet, which is the practical space to allow them to grow healthy. That pattern is going to continue down through Way Park Drive to the west, all along their frontage. And then there's additional trees going to be planted around the west side of the building once it's expanded into that area. So The conservation boards provided us information onto species and the grouping. So that's been reviewed pretty much in earnest with both of those boards.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so right now you have, looks like you have 5 spaces for trailer parking. Is that gonna be adequate? 'Cause I don't see anything on the land banking for trailers.
Correct. That was a specific criteria, design criteria given to us by Cooper Vision.
Okay.
Cooper Vision currently does not have trailer storage on their lot. They have asked for that just to keep things tidy and have it organized, and the trucks the trailers being stored on the side. Again, because of the amount of the amount of product they're able to distribute, they need to have those trailers available, standing ready.
Okay. Now, where are you gonna put the snow?
Sure. So snow storage, first of all, on the east side of the building, the current parking area, they're going to continue to utilize the snow storage areas that they have, which is they push it off to the east and to the north. To the west, with the expansion, there is area, there still is green space area there that access drive and the parking associated with that, they'll be able to push that off to the west also. The north and south areas, they'll push those to the north respectively and the south respectively.
Question. Any other questions on the board? Okay, any questions or comments from the audience?
Still nothing here.
Okay. With that, I think we can close this. Is there any of these, for the board members, are there any of these 3 variances that people are against at all? And I asked for the paperwork reasons.
Nope.
I'm good with it.
Good, okay. Well, that makes it easy. Excuse me. With that, I would like to make a resolution. Maybe. Not open it. All right. Excuse me. With regards to application 2021-120, 121, and 122 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variances will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to the nearby properties. This location is an industrial area, and these changes make sense for the need of the applicant. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The scale of the facility and warehouse properties makes this the only feasible option for this space and the customer. The variance requested is substantial. This variance is extremely substantial. However, again, it's the only way that it fits the needs of the applicant with the property boundaries. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. It will not have a negative effect. Will be built to appropriate regulations from the fire, building codes, and more. The difficulty related to this variance was self-created. The difficulty was self-created due to the need to handle more business, which is great. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variances as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Heather. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motions carry. Thank you very much and good luck to you guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all the help Henrietta has given us in this project.
Yes,
Well, thank you, and we're glad you're here.
Can't wait to
Thank
see-
you.
Okay, with that, I'd like to close the meeting so we can deal with the tabled item, which is regarding Sedgerly. We will discuss this briefly. And before we close it, I would like to say one of the difficulties we're having is since we're split and one person's out, a even split is a no. So we want to really weigh this out. But also, there are some potential other possibilities here, so I want to talk about that afterwards. Give us 2 or 3 minutes here. So with that, I'd like to close the meeting for a few minutes while we table this. Time is, geez, it's already 8:35. 8:34. Okay, so, Aaron, for sake of understanding how this works, this is only the board that will be discussing this, and even though he's sitting here listening to us, he cannot address it right now. We will reopen it for you. No, you're welcome to stay. You can hear it, but at this moment, we can't ask for input. We will again when we reopen it. And you'll hear, please listen to what we're saying because it's pertinent to your situation. So let me just get a straw poll again real quick. Who is a no for this variance?
Well, I think we should clarify, right? Because Kevin raised some good points. Is the way it's written, it's about whether or not we allow parking off of a driveway. But then there's the alternatives of proposing that it's a different code, right?
Well, it's, again, the 20712 section of code mentions where you can park a trailer. We'll just simplify it without putting, the trailer can be parked in the driveway extension. But that section of code states any aggrieved person can come to the zoning board for relief from any section, any part of that code. That's kind of why I put it in as 20712 rather than 240 originally, because that just deals with the driveway extension, driveway parking. It's in both places, but this would allow you guys basically to vote on allowing him to park the trailer
On grass.
in the grass.
Right. Okay.
And I think it'd be a good idea to limit, if you decide to go that route, limit where.
Location.
Yeah, put a specific location, so it's not all over next to, the neighbor's house and things of that nature.
And thank you.
Would we have to re-advertise it though, because we're changing the code?
No, because we're
It is
actually
what we
in
asked for.
20712, that section of code allows, it says you cannot park in the grass essentially.
Right,
That's
right.
what was advertised.
That's what was
Okay.
advertised.
So we are doing the right thing with regards to procedure.
Correct.
Okay.
Eric, is there any other concern that you have? It is as Kevin said, we should identify a location, like actually identify it when we do this, right?
Right.
So he can't just park it in the front yard
Right.
moving forward.
No, the
or
fact
something
that
like-
he has a physical structure that he parks it, I mean, that gives you a location,
A reference point.
a reference point,
Yeah.
west side, north side, whatever it
Yeah.
is,
Okay,
Yeah, so for me, then, my opinion is it's because the trailer exists, it's a question of whether or not the character of the neighborhood would appreciate the trailer perpetually in the driveway or in back out of sight.
so it's not out of sight anymore, though, is one of the concerns. So I'm on the fence, but I am leaning a little bit towards yes, personally, Tim. But my question for this, before he had this in a spot that was not allowed because it was not his property and it wasn't approved anyways for the same code that we're here
Right.
talking about. But now in order to do that, he's representing this on the right side of the property instead of like behind the building. It's going to be next to the building, and the building I'm talking about is the shed. It's going to be next to it, and that is line of sight from the road, from the neighbor, more so from the neighbor to I guess it would be his south, I think, to the neighbor to the south, that same side of the shed, less so to the neighbor to the north, the opposite side. Actually, they'd probably prefer it, right? If they may not even be questioning it, but they'd probably prefer it. And when I say it's visible from the road, I mean, it is a little bit lower than the road, and his house is, as mentioned earlier, is raised up a little bit from the grading that was done, which in turn adds another visual difference there from the way I see it anyways. And again, I drive by there very often. I also appreciate the need for storage and things of that nature. I don't love the idea of it being on the grass in general. Like, it's something I don't really like when I'm a neighbor directly, but in general, it is relatively out of the way, but it's more so than it was before.
I think you have a point in that putting in the backyard isn't out of sight for the immediate neighbors. It's just in their backyard. I'm looking at a picture of it now from the street side. To me, having it be 70 feet away is less, in your face than permanently in the driveway. That's my-
Unless you're a neighbor.
Or unless you're in the park.
Oh, it's true. They're gonna be building.
It's backing up to the park. I think that's the reason that this started in the
Yes, I
first
did.
place.
I was there last week in the park. It's fantastic.
But the park's not done either.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So the other question I didn't ask earlier that I'd like to ask now is how far was it before into the park? And how far off of the property line will it be the way it's proposed? And that is something, and I know you hear us, but don't answer me yet. But those are things that will be that I'm curious about. I would like to understand that better.
Yeah.
It is difficult.
Right, you should keep in mind that his immediate neighbors were provided notice and an opportunity to be heard if they did have an issue with it. So I do believe we can read into the fact that nobody objected, nobody came, that they don't have an issue with it.
So that is a good point, Eric. I appreciate you bringing that back to the forefront. It is only one of the factors that we think of, but it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a good point.
So for me, in my opinion, and why I'm opposed to it is that the applicant has stated that there is another alternative property that he could store it on. Although it's not convenient or ideal, he does have a feasible alternative to store the trailer. So on top of grass and down the hill and, being, obstructing the neighbors. That's why I'm against it. And he has a 3-car garage driveway.
Full driveway, right?
So he's got the room. It's more of a convenience factor of having it on his property because as he stated, that he stores, not his motorcycle, but he stores pool stuff. He uses it for additional storage.
It's like he uses it for storage and occasionally for his motorcycles.
Yes.
Not the other way
Or
around.
other things, whatever.
Or
Other
other
things
things,
too,
whatever
yeah,
he
exactly.
decides to
So
store
it's-
in it. So,
It's like free space that
exactly.
there's he's got the shed there. And it's so he has a certain size that's already taken up and he's got this extra mobile shed.
Yeah, basically.
So he's got more space, which is great for him, but it's still that I feel that it's something that.
And other factors too. Although the pool and deck that he put out back is absolutely stunning. Really it's beautiful. The other potential problem here is the amount of impermeable surface on this property too. And I don't know, maybe I look at this and ask Aaron as with the landscape consideration here. Those are all factors. Now, the flip side is, and I do know the area well, I'm slightly higher on the hill from him on the next street over, but there are definitely houses in this neighborhood that have water issues. He is on the good side of it. But the other side of the road has it in their backyards where there's just water ponding and some other issues. So maybe that's just not an issue because it's all going away from the house anyways, but there's a lot of space that is not covered, or I'm sorry, that is covered with hard surface. It's just another thing in the space. So all things we have to consider. What other questions do we have or thoughts? I totally appreciate this, and I'm really torn, but I am sort of leaning towards yes, especially with the comment Eric made is a solid one for me.
For me, I am also very torn. I'm leaning towards yes. I would be more of a yes if there were to be a concrete pad for the trailer to sit on. I would never want anybody to pave their entire yard to do this. But I think for me, it would be the concrete pad would add a cleanness to it to ensure that the trailer would not
sinking,
make a muddy mess sitting there or settle the ground further.
Stone,
Well, I was gonna
stone
say,
or
but-
something else is
I
acceptable?
would not like stone, only because the stone will migrate, no matter what you do to it. And so the stone would probably migrate into the neighbor's yard with a runoff, the first rainfall or snow.
I would like, when these back up for testimony, I would also like to ask a little more about the grading of that space. Because I actually believe the grading, and I'm not telling you to change your opinion, I'm just saying that a thought that comes out, the grading is from house to the back more so than left to right.
Now, adding a
So just, and I say that on the
pad,
reason
would
of the
that be a
migration
variance?
comment that you made.
Right.
No,
What was that, Heather? I couldn't,
adding a pad, if that would be considered a variance.
that would be no,
No,
because
it's
that's,
just the slab on grade. There's no permits. There's nothing for that.
and
Oh.
would a gravel pad, even though I understand what Aaron said, would a gravel pad also be something that would be acceptable for eliminating the need for this? And he doesn't need a code, or sorry, an application for gravel pad, correct?
We still need this application because you're not parking in a driveway or driveway extension,
Oh, it's an extension.
He's also proposed it on the side of the shed, which
Right.
doesn't work because it's. on
which
the
doesn't work towards the driveway extension portion. That's why, again,
Right.
if you're allowing it in that location to the south of the existing shed, it's basically you're allowing him to park it in the yard, not on a driveway extension or
Okay,
driveway.
okay.
One other comment I'd like to bring up is the variance will go in perpetuity
Yes.
with the property. So do we limit the size of the trailer? The next property owner could come in with a
50-foot
50-foot trailer.
Valid point. So that would be who has this one?
I do.
So at
It's a
very
six-
minimum,
It's a 6x12 trailer.
yeah. I think we should limit the size for sure. And if we approve this, I think we should absolutely agree with Kevin on that. So that should be a limitation. So we don't have a mobile home or something back there.
I also
And-
feel that, if it was me, I don't think I would want to be storing a 6x12 trailer in front of my house either.
I agree.
Just because your house is you and it's
Yeah.
present to the neighborhood.
The other issue is that these driveways are relatively short.
Mhm.
So it does take up 16 feet with the tongue of the trailer. So it does take up a considerable amount of the parking.
Right.
So would we prefer a condition be the size of the trailer or the location relative to the existing shed? Right, so he discussed it being to the left side when you're facing the shed, the left side of the shed because of the door on the trailer. If we conditioned that location, it couldn't end up anywhere else theoretically.
Yeah. Absolutely condition the location and the size.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, that was your point. I was just asking which would make more sense to limit the size of the shed or the
Well,
size
trailer.
of the trailer or the place that it's positioned.
Or both.
Or both.
Or both.
Could do both. So if we do it, I would suggest both, because I do think that sort of makes it more defined for all of us. I think in my eyes that anything that limits this to the actual need is really preferred. It's a common problem. I mean, I agree with your statement, Aaron, because as you know, I have motorcycles as well.
Right.
And I want to get a trailer. And I'm like, I don't know where to put it. And I won't put it out back. My wife won't let me put it in the driveway. And I can't put it outside the house because she won't let me put it there either. So I can't have a trailer. But he already has it. So it's yeah. I'm absolutely leaning towards yes with the definition of what it is. So with those two qualifiers, does that change any of your minds? No.
If he was storing the motorcycles in there all the time, perhaps, but it sounds like it's something he uses
For just
rarely. It's mostly used for other items at this point.
Mhm.
It's basically extra storage space that he's using for his property. And he uses them.
So
over-
why not get a second shed or?
Well,
or a
right,
bigger
exactly.
shed?
It's like, but I understand that he needs to put the trailer somewhere, but at the same time, and I understand, okay, yeah, you utilize the space when you're not using it for the motorcycles, but it's still something that I still feel that it's not.
It's more of a convenience.
Or,
than a
yeah.
When I
necessity.
had my trailer and the three motorcycles, they were never in there unless we were going somewhere. So
I
the
agree.
trailer.
I would never put it in there.
Yeah, it didn't just sit there unless we, but what am I gonna do with the trailer? It used to sit in the driveway, you know?
Used to sit in the driveway,
Which is allowed.
which is allowed.
Right.
So.
That is available. So Aaron, I'm gonna ask you, as it stands, and we'll still ask the applicant up for more testimony and conversation, but what is your, did any of this conversation change your mind to make a vote now to yes? Or are you still at a no right now?
I'm at a yes, granted we specify the location and the size of the trailer.
Okay. So with that, I would like to close the discussion and open the meeting again. And I would like to bring up the applicant, Mark Cassetta, please.
8:50 PM.
8:50.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just open the meeting at 8.
Oh, I'm sorry. Reopening the meeting at 8:51, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Cassetta, welcome back. Thank you for listening to everything. And again, you know, I say this to some people that have to sit through the long process. First of all, I'm sorry that it's taking so long. We do take it very seriously. And there's a lot of factors here, which I know you're hearing some of this. And I think it's important to just say this because I think if your neighbor was doing something, you'd want us to be just as much scrutiny on this as we are for right now. I believe. And so I want you to know that we do take it seriously, and we're trying to get the best outcome for everybody by doing some of these minor things that we're requesting. I think it allows us to get a satisfactory answer for everybody. So I appreciate your patience on this. So with that, I would like, do you have any questions based on what we were saying?
Well, there's a lot of things like the motorcycle's not stored in there. It never is stored in there. So it's the only time it's in there is usually once a year going down to Florida for Biketoberfest in October, and which hasn't happened in 2 years because of COVID.
Yeah.
So that's never stored in there. I don't store any gas, any oil. My mower's in my garage. It is pool items. I have a place an hour away. I have a place 2 hours and 40 minutes away up at the Thousand Islands. It doesn't help me. And it's not just for storage. I would have to buy a shed. Then you got to do another permit for another shed. You got to go through this whole thing again. I do, and if you would allow me just to share, I did take a picture of it before the day that I moved it up. And this, can I come forward?
Yes, but I think just for sake of COVID, throw the mask back on. Yeah, let's do that. Sorry, I
just want to show because it really, because of a lot of the things that you were saying with the way the yard pitches back, and we do go back on the border.
Yes, sir.
And this is the picture that I took before, and even on the grass, and we've talked about, Kevin and I have talked about, we've all talked about whether it be stone or asphalt or grass. The grass deteriorates, and I trim under this, and you can see how well maintained it is. Okay, it's very clean. Kevin, did you ever see this? Well, you probably saw it back there, right?
Yeah, yep.
So it's very clean. It's right next to the trailer, right next to the shed. It's very simple. It doesn't disturb. It doesn't do anything. My neighbors are okay with it. I've spoken with those neighbors. But this is basically all it is. It just sits parallel.
Yep.
Have you seen it?
I have. I'm truly a neighbor, so
That's really all it is.
and
Can you talk back up
sir,
to the mic?
because of the microphone, we have to have everything.
Yeah, sorry.
So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of show you that because that's really all it is very simple. It was behind the trailer on the park property, which didn't really realize all that was going down until that park was going. And it really looked nice back there because you couldn't see it at all, except from the, but from the road, it's very difficult to see. And from the park, you can't see it because the reeds are taller than I am. So when you're walking the path.
Today. That may change. So the park has new things that are happening to it. So that's why I just give that.
Understand. Okay.
Qualifier.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, you can barely see it from anywhere in there too.
And how far off of the property line will that be? It looks, based on your pool placement, it looks like that distance is sizable, but I would like to roughly know how far do you think that will be from the property.
From the property line? Well, the shed was just done as part of some permits that I had to do that wasn't even aware of on the pool and on the deck. And then I did the shed permit, which they measured out right about 5 feet off of the line. That back end would be mimicking where the back of the shed is, so it would be 5 feet from the property line.
And then likewise from your neighbor's property line.
Oh, it's probably about 15 feet from there.
From the closest portion of the trailer to their line.
Yeah, it's probably 15 feet.
Thank you. So Tim, do you think you have what you need to write this? Okay, so do you have any more questions?
Nope.
And sir, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I just can try and help my situation. I don't really have questions, I don't think.
Okay.
Maybe not yet anyways.
Well, we're not too far, so we can always.
That's
address
fine.
it.
That's fine.
But with
Well,
that, I would like to-
I would ask this, would you be able to comply with a condition that the maximum trailer size is 6 by 12? Are you certain, in fact, that your current one is 6 by 12 and not 7 by 13 or something else?
Correct. 7 foot is a double axle trailer. That's why I went with a 6 foot.
Okay, so could you comply with the conditions of 6 by 12 and limited to the southwest side of the existing shed?
Yes.
Which is where you have it positioned?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, I would like to close this application.
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
did we clarify the base underneath the trailer? Is that, will that be a condition? Just want to make sure it's out there for Mr. Lehman's vote. I know he mentioned concrete.
Concrete and rock are things that we all discussed. Again, the real variance is very specific to on the grass. We're
No,
adding.
it's actually very specific to not on a driveway or
Not
driveway
on a
extension.
driveway.
So there is a difference and we.
I'm sorry.
Just want to be clear.
Not on a driveway. And we're putting a condition of location and scale. Does that fulfill the need? So for me, the answer is yes. I believe Tim, the answer is yes. I believe John is yes. And I believe Aaron's was on the fence, but I think you said okay.
Yeah, I'm a yes now.
Okay.
Yeah, because the other thing to
So we're-
consider is if we, mandated a pad and at some point there was a different owner of the home that didn't have a trailer, there would be a pad without a trailer.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like with a shed. I mean, you don't have to put concrete down for a shed.
Right.
I mean,
Except if there's a car in it.
that's true. Yeah.
So, okay, so no, I don't think we're gonna
Okay,
allow it on the
just want to make
grass.
sure it was there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin. I'll ask you later. I'll ask you later.
Go ahead, Tim.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-114 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. Approving this variance will remove a trailer from the front of the house to a more out-of-sight backyard position, positive change to the character of the neighborhood. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The need for the trailer persists. There is no other reasonable solution for storage of the trailer. The variance requested is not substantial as the variance is only moving a trailer from one location to a better one. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. In fact, to deny this variance would result in the need for more impermeable surface or stone for greater than 50 feet of distance from current driveway to desired rear location. The difficulty related to the variance was self-created because the applicant's belongings are greater than their ability to store them. But there is a reasonable solution with the character of neighborhood in mind. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented, and be it further resolved that this approval shall be subject to the following conditions. The maximum trailer size is limited to 6 foot by 12 foot, and that the location be limited to the southwest side of the existing shed in the backyard.
I'll second that.
Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
So that's Christian and Heather as opposed. And with that, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you.
Good evening.
Oh, off the record, what do you write?
Pardon me?
We have to
What do you
close-
write off? I gotta close
close
the
meeting.
meeting.
2019 Road Glide Special.
Very nice. So with that, I close this meeting at exactly 9 o'clock on the button. So thank you.
That's why the trailer needs to be 6 by 12.
It is.
The 6 foot wide
no.
is actually the thing.
Yeah.